you feeling?
Hey, I'm feeling.
Yeah, I know what's happening, so I appreciate you taking the time out to come on for me.
No doubt, no doubt.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I don't want to take too much of your time. I know you're busy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so welcome to episode 10 of Mental Radar, everyone. For anybody that hasn't seen this before, my name is Keith McLeod, and I'm actually the CEO of Life Changers, and this is Mental Radar. And the purpose of this podcast is pretty much just a cool, safe space for people like ourselves to just kick back and talk, really have candid conversations, and hopefully provide some value for your lives. Okay? So this is episode 10, and the name of this episode is Travelprenurship. And what I wanted to do here is this is kind of a piggyback on the episode from last week. We did an episode about Black entrepreneurship. And this is just the new wave of it. You know, my last guest was like a traditional business owner, and she had a couple different businesses. But, you know, my good friend Kamoy here, he's into entrepreneurship on a different level. So I'm going to go ahead and just let you take the stage, bro. Go ahead and tell everybody your story for me.
Yeah. So what's going on, family? Right, Kamoy Martin. So I was born in Jamaica, right? Not Jamaica, Queens, like the island of Jamaica. And I was raised in Brooklyn, New York. Right. So pretty much a huge amount of my upbringing comes from, you know, that Brooklyn just energy.
Right.
Because I left Jamaica when I was like a baby. Right. Some people always ask, oh, if you were born in Jamaica, where's your accent? You know, stupid questions. Right. So yeah. So raised in Brooklyn. And then I traveled down to Baltimore, Maryland to attend college. Right.
Right.
And you know, I learned a lot, man. Going to college, went to college at Morgan State University. And met a lot of different cool people, you know, try a lot of different hustles I remember being undergrad, I was like selling cars, like in between classes, right? You already know the vibes, you understand?
Yeah.
So I'll be selling cars in between classes, you know, still doing the school thing, but at the same time, recognizing this hustle in me, you know, and this entrepreneurial spirit in me. And then after I graduated from college, you know, I found out really, really quick that, you know, I want to be an entrepreneur because I'm gonna tell you this, right? So I never found a job in my field, had a bunch of student loan debt.
Mm-hmm.
The job that I did get right out of college, I was literally making like $28,000 a year, you know? And let me tell you something, man, like my student loan debt was like probably, you know, more than 4 times that, okay?
Right.
So it just didn't add up. I couldn't make sense of it. So I remember, you know, a couple of friends of mine suggested a book to me called Success Principles by Jack Canfield. And, you know, after I read that book, that really changed the game for me because that was a book that really taught me that an everyday person like me can become an entrepreneur. I can create wealth. I can design the life that I want. As much as you would think that, you know, everybody should naturally believe that, right? Like, it sounded good, but I didn't really believe it all the way, right? So for whatever reason, I think because of where I was in my life, it was like everything that I was reading in that book, I was just taking it all in and I was believing it. So from there, like I literally just started creating all these different business ideas, you know, started creating like little small mastermind groups. And this was like the beginning of 2013. And I had this bright idea that I was going to quit my job August of 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally put in, you know, my notice to quit. I want to say like around May or June. For August 2nd, 2013, right? And I had started prior to that, I had started a wholesaling real estate business, right? And mind you, when it was like the end of July, I still haven't did a deal, right? I still didn't, you know, sell any real estate properties, right? But I was still follow through with this whole quitting my job thing. So I ended up quitting my job, and I'm like, man, I'm like excited and nervous at the same time, right? Because I'm over here, I'm now a full-time entrepreneur, but the thing is, now I don't have this guaranteed check.
Right.
But I always tell people, like, you know, you don't quit like how I quit, right? Like, you should actually, like, you should actually have like a business that's like running and consistent and like smooth, and you know, you have like a system in place and things, and you have a good amount of, you know, savings in reserve. That's a much better and easier way to quit a job when you have a business. But for me, I was just so hungry and ready to quit. I knew that, you know, win or lose, I was going to do whatever it took. So that's what I did, man. And then the very next day, my boy E, that's both our boys, but he ended up recruiting me into a network marketing company, right? And it's funny because I was a little reluctant, right? But I was just, again, I had just quit my job. The thought of having, residual income and just having a business, I was already there mentally. So I was like, you know what? Let me give this networking thing a shot. Even though I never did it before, even though I've had my thoughts about it. Nothing too negative, but I just was not really too, knowledgeable on it. So locked in with that. So now at the beginning of August, I'm here. I got this wholesale business and I got this network marketing business, and I'm just out here just learning. They're both new to me, and I'm just like building and growing. But I'm still reading books. I'm still listening to personal development, still going to seminars, and I'm just trying to figure out this whole entrepreneur thing out. And that's kind of like my foundation of me getting into this full-time entrepreneur journey.
Right. Okay. Well, that's an amazing story. I mean, it's very similar to mine. I kind of went through that phase as well, where I didn't quit the right way, where I definitely should have thought twice before I made that move. But I'm still grateful for the experience. It did work out. It did add some value. And you definitely learned some things, maybe a little bit tougher, but I feel like if I would have done it in a traditional way, I may not have received the lessons the way I was supposed to. So I do believe all things work out for the glory of it. But so you tell me the story, you go through everything and you find these two businesses and you're like, I'm a little stuck. And boom, you finally figure it out. So tell me what's going on now. What is your current business and how are you moving with that?
Yeah, so pretty much during that whole time, right, like I just got so used to making money and working for myself, right? I got introduced to the Airbnb business. I mean, I was pretty familiar with it, but I guess because I used to travel a lot, right? Like I traveled a lot just because I love to travel. So I was staying in a lot of Airbnbs, and I would meet hosts, and I would sometimes have little conversations, and then sometimes they would tell me they own the property. Sometimes they would say they don't own the property. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. You don't have to own property to do this Airbnb thing. Okay. And then a good friend of mine, Nikki, she was doing it, right? She had one property at the time. And pretty much how the catalyst of me getting in was I had just moved into a brand new apartment. And because I was so excited about moving into this brand new apartment because it was in a better neighborhood, like it felt like a step up in my life, I wanted to hook it up, right? Like I wanted to hook it up. I wanted to deck it out. So after I furnished it and everything, I had invited her and a couple of my friends over to kind of, do like a little housewarming kinda-ish, right? Just kind of grand tour. And as I'm showing them around, Nikki's like, man, this would be a pretty cool place for an Airbnb. And I was not there, tapped in. Like I was just like, sounds good, but did you see my new, cowhide rug? Like my rug is fire. Like, yeah, well, I don't know, this Airbnb thing sounds cool, but like you see this art, so
Right.
I wasn't even there. But lo and behold, about a week or two later, she ends up getting a property in my building for her Airbnb business. And I was like, damn, that's crazy. So you said it, you mentioned it, but you really execute on it. And then she's kind of sharing with me the type of profits that she's making. Right. And I'm like, okay. And mind you, see, again, I was in real estate. I was wholesaling real estate. Right. And at the time, I was pretty interested in being a buy and hold investor. But I was doing research and I found out that the average positive cash flow, right, when it comes to renting out a property, right, traditionally, was about $300 to $500 a month.
Right.
But she was telling me that after her first month, move forward, her profits were $1,500 and it was growing steadily. And her expenses were pretty low. I want to say the rent was $1,200 a month.
Right.
The deposit was low. She didn't have to put down this 10 to 20% like you would when it came to purchasing a property. So I was like, it's crazy. I was like, after a certain amount of time, I just figured, why not give it a shot? And, that's what I did, right? I became very intrigued by the whole process of getting into this business, this Airbnb and short-term rental business without owning any property. It just made sense. I feel like I didn't have much to lose.
Okay. All right. So now fast forward, you're full-time in the Airbnb and this is your deal. Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely want to say that's really important to really promote moving into entrepreneurship, because for those of you that are just checking in, you know, it's just so much of your life you can take back. Like, it's literally like taking ownership. It's like someone hands you the keys to a vehicle, to a brand new vehicle, but the vehicle's been parked in your driveway the whole time. You know, that's kind of what it feels like becoming an entrepreneur from my perspective. And like I said, I mean, Airbnb, that's a crazy move. And one thing I want to ask you is, if you compared it to your traditional businesses, what do you say the advantages are of being able to work remote?
You know, I never like knock traditional businesses, right?
Uh-huh.
Because at the end of the day, I always say you should do what you're happy about, you know, do what you're passionate about, for sure, for sure. But it's all about just like your lifestyle and the type of life that you want, right? I feel like, you know, you should choose your career based on how you want to live your life, not live your life based on how your career is.
Okay,
Yeah.
bars.
That's a fact, because I learned that the hard way, you know. So for me, I knew that I didn't want to show up to a, say, like a physical establishment, at least not, you know, at this point in my life, right?
Right.
I also understood that I didn't want certain overhead, right? And probably what it is, right? Because when I first quit my job, right, like, you know, and when it came to wholesale and real estate, like the overhead wasn't too crazy. A lot of it was really more so marketing.
Right.
Network marketing. You already know the overhead isn't, you're going to conferences, you're buying tools, but the overhead's really low. So I got really, I guess, addicted to the notion of being able to make, you know, a substantial income without having to have a lot of overhead, you know, and Airbnb was another opportunity, right? Like, there really isn't a lot of overhead. And the cool thing is, with, say, like the Airbnb and short-term rental industry, if you're utilizing platforms like Airbnb and VRBO, right, they're pretty much, you know, in charge of a lot of the heavy lifting, right?
Oh,
Like, literally, like, you just list your property. Essentially, they're doing all the marketing for you, right? Because they're putting all the eyeballs in front of your property, right?
right.
They're facilitating the whole booking process, right? Like, they're handling all the inner workings that you would have to handle typically with a traditional business. And at the end of the year, you know, you get a tax form, you know,
Right.
showing how much money you got. So it's like, the structural wise, it's just simple. Now, again, I don't knock traditional businesses. You know, there's just a lot more involved. There's just a lot
Right.
more,
Right.
right? You know, you got to be a lot more hands-on. You got to, you know, there's just so much more detailed, right? So that's pretty much what I would say, you know, and then and even just other just, you know, realms, because I'm also like in the digital world, right? Like, I also offer like mentorship and like coaching and things like that. And it's just cool because I have the ability to coach and help, you know, hundreds and thousands of people how to create success in the Airbnb business. And it's like, I could be where I'm at. They could be where they are. That we can literally be in two different countries and I can bring value to them, you
Right.
know? So it's like, there's nothing that beats that. You know, I absolutely love it.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks for that overview. I do appreciate it. I wanted the people to hear exactly what you do and how you got there. But, you know, this is mental radar, so I wanted to get that part out of the way first. And now let's get into the, you know, the real nitty gritty, the real conversation here. So, would you say that you reached a level of success?
I've reached a level of fulfillment.
Okay.
But success to me, it's really it's a moving target. You
Absolutely.
know? Yeah.
I mean, that's probably one of the most important things for any person that's really seeking success, is to understand that, you know, it's a path, not a destination.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're always going to be working towards something better. And what do you think is the most important thing that got you to the space you are right now in regards to how you view it?
What is the thing that got me to this space? Just like
Yeah.
Airbnb, or just entrepreneurship in general?
Okay. Yeah. Well, pretty much not entrepreneurship, but feeling like
Oh,
fulfillment.
fulfillment.
Yes.
I mean, 100%. It's stepping out on faith and knowing that there's a certain life that I want,
Uh-huh.
and not letting fear hold me back from getting it.
Okay.
Going through the ups and downs, going through the wins, the losses, going through the point of like almost like complete just not making it, right? And then just like continuously going on and always making a way. And also, like, of course, seeing the money go up and seeing the impact go up. And
Right.
So it's like it's all that and above, right? Like it's the fulfillment. Like it's like, damn, like I'm doing what I said that I would do, right? Like it's all that.
Yeah. All right, cool. So now, how do you feel your mindset affects this business as a whole, or everything, the value here?
Yeah, I mean your mindset is everything, right? Like if your mind ain't right, you're not gonna make it, right? Because I'm gonna tell you this, right? Like just because the thought of living a certain life is exciting, just because the thought of living a certain life it just seems like glitz and glam, like it gives you this like euphoria feeling, right?
Right.
Like maybe
Right.
driving a car that you want, traveling to where you want, living in a house you want, just this dream life you have, right? And here's the deal: if you have a certain life, 100%, you can achieve it, right? But the problem is, in the pursuit of that, it's not going to feel all glitz and glam. Like it's not going to feel good. It's not. Like matter of fact, you're going to have to wake up when at times when you don't want to have to wake up. You're going to have to do things you don't want to have to do. You're going to have to hustle when you don't want to hustle, right? Like, and there are going to be times when you feel like you want to give up and you can't give up. So it's like, it's just not going to always feel good. And the thing is, if your mind ain't right, you're going to feel like every time adversity arrives, that's your sign to give up. But when your mind is right, when you do face adversity, you're going to realize this is a part of the process. This is
Right.
going to be stronger. So it's like, as an entrepreneur, you always got to be solution oriented. You're always going to, if your mind isn't right, when you see problem, you're just going to see problem. But when your mind is right, when you see problem, you're going to see solution. So it's like, if you got to get your mind right, right? Like you got to grow your mindset as much as you want to grow your bank account. Right?
Mm.
Like you can't,
Yeah.
you just really can't have one without the other.
Absolutely. When it comes to that, I do like the quote Les Brown. He has one of my favorite quotes about that when he says that when you deal with adversity, it's best to call it a character building day. And, it sounds weird at first when you think about, well, I want to just call it a problem or I want to call it this or that. Really just shifting those words really makes a major difference in your
Yep.
outcome. Because I know for me, I look at it different. I remember being in that place. I remember starting out having problems. This is going to break. That's going to break. It's like, this is never going to work. But typically at that breaking point, it's a test to see, okay, are you really about this life? Are you ready to excel? Are you really ready to move on and get to the next level and be an entrepreneur? Because you're going to deal with, character building days along the way. And as the money rises, so do these problems rise. Like, it's not just going to be, like you said, all rainbows, all sunny. As the problems go up, so does the income. But it's a balance. And as you grow, you become the person that's prepared to deal with that. So,
Yep.
like you said, it's definitely goes hands in hand with, how your mind grows with your bank account. So I'm glad you brought that point up.
No test, no testimony.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what advice would you give someone that's watching this live? Maybe they're scared to pull the trigger and they're just, on the fence about becoming an entrepreneur, whether it be, a digital or a regular entrepreneur.
Yeah. I'll say do it. Right? Like, I mean, my belief is this, man. Like, you don't want to live a life of regret. You don't want to live a life of what if.
Right.
Right? Like, that's my thing. Like for me, like, I can accept failure. I can accept starting something and it not working out the way that I want to. I can accept all those things. But what I can't accept is me getting to the end of my life, not knowing how things would be if I didn't do everything I said I want to do.
Mm.
I don't have any kids yet, but I can't look my kids in the face and say, hey, I had these dreams, I had these aspirations, but I just never went out. I never went out there and made it happen. Like I can't do that.
Right.
Can't do it. So the thing is, just do it, right? Like, what's the worst that can really happen? The worst. You can always work a job.
Right.
You'll always be able to find that. But it's like when your dreams die, it's like they're gone.
Absolutely. And that's crazy that you would say that, because when you bring it up, if a person has a dream, that's something that was specially placed in you by God. Like, that needs to be born.
Yep.
You have to birth that baby, and you're never going to be fulfilled, no matter how much money you make or whatever the case may be, how much money you don't make or how you live your life. If you don't
Right.
tap into that divine ability, that divine gift that you received, you're wasting your time. Like, what are you really doing here?
Right.
I mean, a lot of people look at life and wonder, I know at least one of the purposes is to fulfill your dream, So, I mean, I think that's important to point out as well. And,
100%.
yeah, yeah. So I do want to shift it a little bit into the whole holistic health scene. Let's talk a little bit about that. How do you feel that that affects entrepreneurship?
Elaborate on that for me.
So, in regards to not just reading a book or anything like that, but really getting well within your spirit, really like living a determined life, really being on point and making your decisions purposefully.
Yeah. So, I don't want to get too deep about this, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I truly feel like everything happens in the spiritual world before it happens in the physical world.
Mm.
Right?
Okay.
Like everything that we see with our eyes in its physical nature, it didn't start there. It all started. It all started in the spirit prior to getting to the physical. So I feel like there's a crazy amount of alignment, when it comes to where you are spiritually and what's going to show up in your life, right? In a way
Right.
that everyone can see. So I feel like even money, like, money in some sense is a spiritual thing. I believe there's energy involved, or I think there's ways to like have it gravitate and just like it can get really deep, right?
Right.
But the thing is, you gotta, mind, body, and spirit. I think it's really, really key to make sure your mind, body, and spirit is in a good place, because it affects just your total life in general, right? So like for me, like, here's the thing, like a lot of these personal development books, right, like they really stem from the Bible.
Right.
Like if you really like read these books and then read the Bible, I'm not in no way, shape, or form. I'm not an expert on the Bible. I'm not. I read a couple pages. I I don't go to church as consistent as I used to, right? But at the same time, it's like a lot of things like I'll hear and see in the book and in the Bible and at church. It's very similar to the things you read in like Think and Grow Rich and all these different other personal development books. And a lot of it's spiritual based. Success is spiritual. It happens. It's so much more deep. It's
Right.
deeper than what we see in the real world.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, I can attest to, from my personal experience, when I really started to tap into, my divine ability, it just felt different. It felt almost dreamlike. Like you say, you see it before you actually experience it. So it's almost like, if I do this, it's going to happen. Not that you can necessarily predict the future, but you can predict the outcome of the
Yep.
result. Because, one of my things is, well, actually, my main thing is, the world, just like the physical world, the spiritual world is governed by law. So spiritual laws can't be broken. If you do X, then Y is going to happen. So it's just understanding these things, understanding that the spiritual world must be in harmony with the physical world if you want to produce the results that you're looking for.
Yep.
So, yeah, I definitely think that's super important. And yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, I know you're not feeling that well, so we can go ahead and get it wrapped up. But did you have anything else you wanted to say or leave us with?
Now, my brother, what I would say is I definitely appreciate you, having me on here. I definitely appreciate everything that you're doing. It's very beneficial for the people, and 100%, man, just keep doing what you're doing. Any way that I can continue to bring value to what you're doing, I'm here for you, man. Just let me know. And if there's anything I can tell the people, it's like, yo, whatever you want to do, go out there and make it happen. Like, it may sound cliche, right? But the whole like we got one life thing, we got one life. But yo, it's real. It's like it's real talk, right? It's real talk, and it's like, what do you really have to lose? You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
as we go on this world, and we were actually having this conversation, Keith. Like when you see people, right, really living at their peak of their life, when a lot of times if you see like these high level artists, these artists that are well known, or people that are just like very highly successful in their craft. Like sometimes you gotta really think to yourself, like, why is it that they're like just elite, well known, and just financially successful with what they're doing, and why is it that I'm not tapped in on that level, right? Like in somebody's mind, they'll think, well, maybe they're more deserving than I am. Maybe they have things better than I am. And that's honestly that's a lie from the pit of hell. You know what I'm saying? Like God gave everybody, extraordinary, amount of talent. desires and passions. And if you go full throttle with those desires and passions, you too can reach that high level of success in whatever it is that you take. My bad, somebody try to call me. Yeah, and you too can reach that high level of success in whatever that you do. And the thing is, like, when you start, really pursuing that journey, like there's really no better feeling than that. There just really is. I mean, outside, I'm pretty sure than like, your family and all that stuff and your love for God. But it's like, I can't even imagine a life, a life that I'm not living on my own terms and I'm not going after my dreams. Like, I just can't imagine not living that, right? Because I remember when I was just working just for money, right? And it's like I was like empty. Like I was just showing, like I was there physically, but I wasn't there mentally. And I was just like showing up for a check. And it's like, yo, that's not a way to live life. And I remember people being at that last job that I had back in 2013, and like people would be there like 10, 20, 30, 40, plus years. And it's like they're there physically, but they're not there mentally. And it's like, yo, like don't let that be you. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't let that be you. And it's like, and don't let the fear of failure hold you back. Just, look, it's only failure. It's only money. Like, even if you like start a business and you lose money, it is only money. And to some people, and then here's the deal, right? To some people, that may sound crazy because maybe they grew up in not such a well-off environment. So like losing money can be scary. And I get it because I come from an immigrant household.
Right.
So sometimes when you come from a certain household and a certain thinking, it's like when you start making a little bit of money, or if you invest a little bit of money, if it doesn't come back, you're like, it's like, it's super scary. And it's like, you gotta free yourself from that. You really do. You gotta free yourself from that. Because the thing is, you can always get money back, but you can't get time back. You just can't. You can't get time back. And pain is temporary, but regret is forever. So it's like failure. Yeah, you may experience a little pain. Losing money, you might experience a little bit of pain. The feeling of going through doubt, uncertainty, that might be a little pain. Maybe people, not believing you, people judging you because you're doing something that they're not doing. You may feel a little bit of pain.
Right.
But the weight of that means nothing in comparison to the weight of regret. Means nothing. Hey, you want to know something? Ask somebody that's like in maybe like their 80s or 90s. Like ask somebody much older than you, right? Ask them, yo, if you had any regrets, what is it? And a lot of times they're gonna tell you, I wish I would have did such and such. I wish I would have went after my dreams. I wish I would have did X, Y, Z. And if you have somebody that's like damn near like on the later, part of their life, like telling you what their biggest regret is, that should tell you something.
Absolutely.
So whatever it is that you want to do, man, go after it, full throttle, no excuses. Even if it feels uncomfortable, get out your comfort zone, make it happen. It's up to you.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I'll close out with, I'm actually going to share a part of the story I was talking to you about earlier, because, I feel like it's appropriate here. So, last night I actually went to a concert for, a particular rap artist, and it was an amazing experience. Now, I've been to plenty of concerts before, but this was something different. It wasn't necessarily the music, that hit me. It was more so like seeing an authentic person be themselves. Like, while watching the show, I could see this person's development. Like, I could see, like, really the sense of awe, them tapping into, like, being in harmony, tapping into a space that not a lot of people reach. So it made me start thinking, and it made me wonder, what is the difference between being a star and not being a star? Or a person consistently producing versus sometimes producing? And what it really comes down to is your ability to tap into that divinity within you, like that real God-given gift that only you can do and nobody can do it better than you. And you get out of your thoughts. It's kind of like the cliche, let go and let God. That's kind of what it made me feel like. And, I really just decided, that's my new goal. Like, when I'm helping people, when I'm in a session, or even if I'm going to do a talk like this, whatever I'm going to be doing, I always want to make sure that I'm enjoying it to the level that people are like, wow, I can feel the energy of that enjoyment being reflected upon me. So I want people to look at it and really feel it. I want them to feel the authenticity. I want them to know that we're here to help, you know, especially people like you. Like, you know, we were friends before any of this back in the day. Like, you know, the stories are crazy, but, you know, we develop, we grow, we evolve, and it works. You know, the path works. Follow the path, read the books, do the work, just continue to grow. Because like you said, it's connected. The mental growth is connected with the physical growth. So the money is with your mindset. Like the money is a mindset. So you got to believe it. You got to see it before you actually touch it and spend it. And you got to continue to go. You don't just get the money and then you stop. There's always going to be more to learn. And the more you learn, the more you realize that you know even less than you thought you did. Every time you learn something new, you're like, wow, I got it. Then you're like, oh, I got a piece of it.
Thanks.
You know, and I always like to give an example about what people, so you know what you know, and then you know what you don't know. So you know how to speak English. Maybe you know that you don't know how to speak Spanish. But then when you think about all the stuff that you don't know that you know, and then you break it even further to you don't know what you don't know, the knowledge that you have access to is unlimited. But the amount that you actually use or that you even know that you're not using is like a speck on the sheet of paper. You know, it's just a very small amount of information out of all the information that's available. So never stop growing, never stop learning. And yeah, just tap into that ability. And, you know, like I said, thanks for coming on. I really do appreciate it. For, like I said, for those of you who don't know me, I introduced it earlier, you know, I am a life coach, so you can check us out. You can check my page, which is life_changers_LLC. So you can check that out. And that's actually where we do, you know, the mental health stuff. And we help out people with just the way you think, because we do look to activate your divine mind. That's our slogan here. And on my personal page, you can follow me. We do these podcasts every week, Mental Radar. So yeah, thanks for joining in. Kamoy, I guess you can share your contact info for those who may not follow you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, guys, y'all can follow me at Kamoy, KEMOY_Martin. Really simple. If you like literally click on the arrow up top, you can literally just add me just like that. Plus, and look, if you're tapping in, make sure you follow my boy Keith. Literally just click up top, up there, right? And hit the follow button, because he's always dropping value, especially with everything he's doing. You don't want to miss it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. You know, go take care of it, feel better. And I'm sure I'll see you soon, brother.
No doubt, my brother. Appreciate you. See you soon.
All right, man. Take care.
You too.